Welcome, and let's look at linear functions in terms of starting as arithmetic sequences. So let's take this sequence, 4, 7, 10, 13, and the dots mean it continues to move. So what we're looking at is the fact that from here to here, we can see we'd be adding by 3, and adding by 3, and adding by 3. So that means we could continue on if we wanted to and add 3 to get 16, and then add 3 again to get 19 if we wanted to. We could keep going. Now, something also to recognize is that we have terms for these. We're going to call this one A1 for the amount of the first term, and this one A2 for the amount of the second, A3 for the amount of the third, A4 for the amount of the fourth, and then this would be the amount of the fifth term and the amount of the sixth term. And then we could keep going if we kept adding 3 as well, as many terms as we wanted. Now, there are 2 methods to write an equation to model this, okay? And that's important. We're going to model this arithmetic sequence. And first, there's the nth term equation. And I'm going to the box around it. What this means is that the amount of the nth term is the amount of the first term here, plus the number of the term take away 1 times the common difference between each term in the sequence. So this one that we were just setting up here, okay, and keep the same ones. Now look and notice that A1 is 4 and D is 3. So we have the amount of the first term and we have the difference. So notice that we're plugging those in. So 4 goes in for the amount of the first term. That's this one here in the formula. And the difference, the plus 3, that's the common difference. That 3 goes here. Just those 2 things need to be plugged in to make the equation. And then this was distributive property, 3 times both of those, and then combining the 4 and the negative 3 to make a positive 1. So if you have to make an equation, you have to simplify it. Okay, and I'm going to put a simplify and a big star because it's important to know that that's important. Okay, big star, but let's make that a little neater. Okay, so this is definitely one important thing to recognize, to work it all out and simplify it. Okay, now let's take a look at one. We'll take those numbers and we're going to, the second method, this was the first method, the n-term equation. Now we're going to make a slope-intercept equation. To do that, notice that I took the original 4, 7, 10, 13, but now I'm making a little table. Instead of A1 is equal to 1 for x. And so we're going to say that it's 1, 2, 3, and 4 there. And that means we actually have pairs. So I'm going to write them over here. This would be like making a table of values. It's just sideways. 3 and 10, 4 and 13, and we could have more. Well, that means we can do a few things. First, notice this m equals 3. That's from the rate of change. We have a plus 3 and a plus 1 and 3, or we have 3. Oh, no, I got it wrong there. Got it the other way. From 1 to 2 is 1. From 4 to 7 is 3. Rise of 3 and run of 1. Rise and run. The y's and the x's. That means we have a slope of 3 here. We take any one of the points, I'll use the smallest numbers, the easier ones, and put them in for x and y, and then subtract 3 from both sides, and b is 1. So that means the y-intercept, there's b, and there's m. Y equals 3 times x plus 1. I'll make that a more clear m. This one's pretty clear as a b. Here's one to practice. Stop for a moment for the video. Practice doing this one. Make either equation, this one that's an or this one that's y. And then come back to this and check and see if you're right. I will start up again in about 3 seconds. You can stop and then come back to this when you're ready. All right, so for this one, I'm going to call it A1, A2, A3, A4. Okay. And so I'm going to use the formula, and I'm going to do this both ways. I'm going to first do it with the formula of the amount of the first term, of the nth term, is the amount of the first term. All right, we'll look at it here. Let's see, there's the formula in action. All right. Plus n minus 1 times the common difference. So we have A1 here. Okay. We have the common difference by thinking how much to go from one to the next. So -4 plus a -2 would make it -6. Plus another -2 is 6 and -8. Plus another -2 there. So now we have that's the difference. And so now let's plug those two things in here. An is equal to the first term, -4 plus n minus 1, and the d is a -2. So the amount of the nth term is -4 minus 2n plus 2. And then the amount of the nth term, -4 plus 2 is -2. That's -n minus 2. If I did it the other way, first let me put a box around that. If I did it the second way, I would find the slope, m is equal to, and that's where I would first also make this into a table with x's and y's. Okay. Oops, I did it the wrong one. Let's fix that. Okay. I have to do the table this way. Those are the x's and there are the y's, because the number given to me were already the y's. Those will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so for slope, let's take the two smaller ones. So I'll do the y sub 2, -6, minus y sub 1. Negative, oh, wait a second. It looks like, well, let me write, this can get confusing. So since it does, let me show you how to think about it. I'm going to take that pair and I'm going to write it as an x and a y. And I'm going to take this pair and I'm going to write it as an x and a y. So now I can say that the slope is equal to -6 minus -4. And on the bottom, 2 minus 1. So these become plus, which makes this a -2 over 1. So that means -2 is the slope. Okay, now that I have that there, what I'm going to continue doing is y equals -2x plus b. I'm going to take one of the pairs and put it in to solve to see what the b is. So I'm going to say at -4 here, and that's -2, -1 plus b. So that one's a +2 negative 4 equals negative 2, negative 1. I didn't quite get that. Let's make that neater. Oh, I just actually need to add this plus 2 plus b. Now I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, and we'll pick it up over here. That b is equal to negative 6. Uh-oh, something's off. Hold on, I'm supposed to get a negative 2. So negative 2x plus b. So I'm putting in the 1 and the negative 4. Oh, I see what it is. Over here, I made that mark as if it was a negative 1, but it's not. It's a plus 1. So let's make that a plus. So we have it as negative 2. So now I'll add 2 to both sides. Okay. And so it's not negative 6. It's negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2, which is the same thing as over here, but now we'll write it as y equals negative 2x minus 2. Notice that the slope and the y-intercept is the same in both equations there. Okay. Finishing that. And they're both equal. So what we've done here is a review about the sequences, knowing about this nth term equation, and then slope-intercept form equation. And then practicing it on 2 of these, making an equation both ways, or practicing on this one in 2 different ways. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped.